Hey, today we're making smothered liver and onions. It's going to be a good one. So here's our liver. Got this from Walmart. I believe I paid under $4 for this 1 pound package. And this is thinly sliced liver. As you can see how thin it is. These are, large, I guess, pieces, but they're really, really thin. And we're just going to go ahead and soak this liver in a little bit of milk. It's going to help break down some of that irony flavor that you get from liver. You can't get rid of it all, but soaking in milk for a couple of hours does help with that. And then once you get it soaking, you're just going to go ahead and put it in the fridge and let it sit for a couple hours. So what I'm going to do, we're going to keep this super simple, and I mean super simple. So I have a bag here, flour, doing it old school, and I'm just going to season my flour really, really liberally, and that's how I'm going to season my liver. Liver is it's kind of slimy and it's kind of all over the place. So the easiest way to season it, in my opinion, and not have to deal with a whole lot of mess, is just to season your flour real well. And then when you're building your gravy and everything else, it'll be more flavor added to it. Also, in doing this, once you shake up your flour or whatnot, go ahead and taste it. Just put a little bit on your tongue. That'll let you know if you need to add any more salt or pepper, anything like that to it. So that's kind of how you gauge whether or not your flour is seasoned well enough or not. And we're just going to shallow pan fry this in some butter. I have about 4 tablespoons of butter here. And again, we're just going to fry it, shallow fry it in some butter. We're going to coat it with flour, but I don't want to do it super heavy. It's going to be a thin, smothered liver, if that makes sense. So the gravy is not going to be super, super thick. It's going to be a little bit more of a thinner gravy. And all you want to do is just brown your liver on both sides. I know there are some people who like their liver actually almost on a rare side, to where they'll just sear it off on both sides, throw their onions in that way. I don't like it that way at all. And after you let it go for 2 or 3 minutes on one side, we're just going to go ahead and flip it over and continue to let it brown on the other side. Then we're going to go ahead and pull it. You can see how that crust is nice and golden brown. That's perfect. And you just continue to do this until you're done with all of the pieces of liver you got. I did cut these pieces in half so they weren't so long. All right, so now that we're done with our last piece of liver, or browning our last piece of liver, I'm going to add in a couple more tablespoons of butter. Then we're going to go ahead and build our roux. Now, as far as liver and onions, the onion portion of it is really up to your preference. I love onions, so we're going to use a ton of onions in ours, but it's kind of up to you. So this was a medium onion, the whole thing, that I sliced fairly thin. And we're just going to go ahead and begin to let those onions caramelize for just a little bit. Then we're going to build a roux so we can make our gravy. You're just going to go ahead and use the flour that you used to bread your liver to make our roux. And once the onions have gone for a few minutes, just going to add a little salt and pepper to those onions. Then we're going to put in just a couple tablespoons of flour. Again, this is not a heavy gravy. It's more of a thinner gravy. Now, 2 to 3 tablespoons of flour, and you're just going to go ahead and begin to let that cook, get that flour flavor out of there. And then we're going to go ahead and build our gravy with some beef stock. If you don't have beef stock, you can use chicken or even vegetable. It kind of really doesn't matter. So after about 2 minutes of letting that flour cook and getting that flour flavor out of there, now we're going to go ahead and add in our beef stock and begin to move everything around and break that flour down a little bit and allow everything to thicken up. Now, when you are shooting for a nice silky gravy, you don't want it to be lumpy or anything of that nature. But again, I don't want it to be super thick. And you just want to go ahead and begin to put your stock in until you get your gravy to the point to where you're just about perfectly fine with it. Then we're going to add our liver back in and let it go for about 20 to 30 minutes until you get it to the desired tenderness that you want. Season it up, salt, pepper, and garlic. Let's continue to let it go. It's not a one of those dishes that we grew up eating it. Wasn't a huge fan, but liver is good for you, especially if you have iron deficiencies or anything like that. Eating liver will help with that. And again, you see all those onions we got in there, that gravy, nice and thin. And we're going to go ahead and top it off with the rest of our stock to where it's going to be covering up the meat just barely, and it's going to have that gravy to the consistency that we want. Now we're just going to top off the rest with the rest of our stock. Then we're going to cover this bad boy up and let it go for about 20 to 30 minutes. And there's how it's looking. It's gone now for about 20 minutes. We're just going to check it, check our tenderness. Smells so good. And once it's to the point to where you're good, it's time to plate up. Simple, debatable, delicious. We think it is. Not everybody likes liver, but it is really, really good. And we're just going to be serving it up with some rice. Got some greens over there too. And that's going to be dinner for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Give it a shot. Liver is cheap, so if you don't like it, you're not out of a lot of money, but I believe you'll like this. Share, comment, subscribe.